Why do you hate Tyreek Hill?
Wow, I see. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat.
Yeah, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. Brian McFadden here. Week 1, already got my brain scrambled. Brian McFadden here, co-founder of Legit Football. Before I even get into intros, I see Armand, one of our resident Jet fans, number one, always in the chat. Yes, we're going to talk about Monday Night Football. I'm going to give my condolences. But the most important thing, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in my partner in crime, Kevin Phillip Fox. Kevin, we have actual football with meaningful results to talk about.
What a blessing, Brian. We've been waiting for so long. Feels like it's been forever. We're here and we're ready to break it down.
Don't use the word blessing when Armand is in the chat after what happened to the Jets. There's blessings and there's curses. I think we're all in agreement that they lie on the other side of that.
And as a Bills fan, it wasn't really much of a blessing for me either. I'm just happy that something happened. I'm just happy we watched football, honestly.
Yeah, it was great to be back. It was great to a lot of the off-season stuff got either completely like, oh, nope, that was wrong, or hey, yeah, we might have been onto something there, or you know what? At the end of the day, week 1 means absolutely nothing when we've got 17 more weeks to play. So if this is your first time here, I always got to say this: 30 minutes of football. Kevin and I do not have a script. We do not have an agenda. We've got some basic things. We're going to share some thoughts. We're probably going to do some game picks. I know that there's some questions primed for us. You're also, if you're watching this live, you are encouraged to send us some questions. This is kind of like an AMA show, and it's mainly just Kevin and I. You know, we might as well be sitting in a bar talking football, except we're going to broadcast it, right?
Hell yeah, that's the way to do it, man. No way I'd rather have it.
Is it Armand's birthday? I see. Thanks for this.
I think it was a couple days back.
I don't care if it was within the last 30 days. Armand, happy birthday. Always excited to see you in the chat.
The legend.
So sorry that the birthday present you got was 4 whole snaps of Aaron Rodgers. But you know what? Him running out with the flag and all, like, that was worth it. Like, that was peak Jets hype. I'm just sorry the way it ended. Let's not beat around the bush anymore. We're going to jump into this. We've got our producer, Anthony Weiner, getting our timer ready behind the scenes. I'm looking behind the side. There it is. So let's go ahead and get this party rolling. 30 minutes of football with Legit Football starts now. So, Kevin, I'm interested. I don't want to go game by game. We don't have to recap all of them, but we have to start with the biggest story because it was the biggest story in the offseason. It was the biggest story leading up to the last game of week 1, and the story came not even crashing down. There was just an explosion, like a Mount Vesuvius eruption of just destruction to that hope for Jets fans. 4 snaps in, Aaron Rodgers tears his Achilles. You're a Bills fan. I want to hear your perspective on everything that went down.
I mean, one of the things that I champion on this show regularly is, you know, if we all love hating on each other's teams. It's part of the fun of sports, but we want them to lose on merit. We want to beat them at their best. And so Rodgers going down 4 snaps into the season. I feel so sorry for Armand, all the Jets fans out there who listen to this show.
Pro Football Demon,
Aaron Rodgers himself. Yeah, it's absolutely sickening. And we'll never know what could have been because, you know, I had the hot take that they were going to miss the playoffs anyway, and I'll never get to victory lap, you know. This question I believe that was our producer who put it up. Will the Jets still compete for the AFC East without Aaron Rodgers? To me, is a no-brainer. I think the answer is no.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I love the fight that they showed. The story of that game, Armand talking about bittersweet. Yes, they came out with a W. They went out there and they capitalized on my favorite player, the biggest bonehead in the NFL, Josh Allen, throwing 3 picks.
What a way to win, too. Like, I feel you got, even as a Bills fan and you lost, you got it. Like, I'm glad the Jets won that game.
In the moment, I was sick to my stomach, and I'll be sick to my stomach. I don't like watching the Bills lose, but that was an incredible
if you're going to go down, and look, the Bills have their whole rest of the season, you're going to make plays. That's not a problem.
Right.
But the Jets needed that win. The Jets fans needed that win. The organization needed to win from an undrafted rookie, star of Hard Knocks, one of the last people to make the team, to go out and do a walk-off punt return touchdown in overtime, I mean, you couldn't have scripted it any better.
It's a hell of a story, and it really begs the question that, let's say the Jets do go out there and pick up, a veteran QB, like, can they make the same kind of noise that they made last year? I mean, they were competitive last year, Brian, with Mike White. Not so much at all with Zach Wilson, unfortunately. And hey, if there is going to be any sort of a career resurgence from Zach Wilson, which I'm not predicting, but this is the circumstances that he needed. And
I don't think so. I'm not saying he couldn't have. The circumstances he needed, Kevin, was he needed to sit for a year or two behind Aaron freaking Rodgers. It's one thing to learn from him in training camp in the offseason, and you see on Hard Knocks how much he admires him and all. That's one thing. But to sit behind him and watch him operate a team for a whole season or two, that was going to set up Zach Wilson. There's no guarantee it still would have worked. He got 4 snaps. And then they throw him out there in Nathaniel Hackett's offense, which is completely designed for Rodgers and his ability to change plays at the line of scrimmage
with
and wide receiver hot routes and handpick everything.
Yeah.
And then that offense was not built for Zach Wilson. You look over at Hackett on the sideline, he has no idea what to do.
Yeah. No, it was brutal. I will say, I think the Rodgers effect will still be felt. I think this version of Aaron Rodgers is going to be comfortable mentoring. I think he's going to be comfortable holding a clipboard. I'm very much looking forward to seeing if Zach Wilson can step into any of that top 5 draft pedigree that he has, because, I see you shaking your head. I mean, you can't deny that physical traits are there, right? Can he put it together mentally? That's something we've all kind of...
The NFL landscape is littered with physical trait players, especially quarterbacks, who never could hack it. It is so much, especially that position, Kevin, is so much more than a physical traits thing. Or else players like Trey Lance, players like Jamarcus Russell, players like Ryan Leaf, players like Zach Wilson. It doesn't matter how talented you are from a physical standpoint. It's almost more important the mental game. Look at a guy like Brock Purdy, who goes the last pick of the draft, but he's in the right system, and he operates that system so well, and everybody's wondering, is he going to be... I thought, I'm a Purdy believer. I thought he'd need to shake the rust off. Nope. Came out there and dominated the team that I was touting as the Steelers as a hot wild card team. That's what I mean, and that's my concern. Let me give my thoughts, and then we can... I'm happy to stay on this topic for a whole 30 minutes if we need to, because it's huge. First of all, devastated isn't the right word. As an NFL fan, as someone, it doesn't matter that I'm a Dolphins fan. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want it to go down like this. I did not want, I wanted to see what this great Jets team, this rookie of the year on both sides of the ball, one of the best defenses in the NFL, a coach that I think, especially after seeing Hard Knocks, that I think is the right guy for the job. Everything lines up. You just need a quarterback. Who do you get? You get an MVP, 3-time MVP, Super Bowl winner, and then he snaps his freaking Achilles. It's not fair. It's straight up not fair. It's not fair to NFL fans. It's not fair to Rodgers. It's most of all not fair to the Jets fans out there. I texted Rich Jodice, Pro Football Demon, immediately after. He was actually on a live on his YouTube. Go check out Pro Football Demon, all social media. He's amazing. Friend of the show. I felt that was my first instinct, was to reach out to a Jets fan that I knew. Armand, I'm glad that you're here as always. It's just not fair. It's just not fair to suffer for so long, to finally get that hope, get so close. You don't even get to see it for half the season. It's not even a full drive. What the hell? I was pissed. So that's the Rodgers thing. So Armand, I cannot stress enough how sorry I am. I'm a Dolphins fan. Kevin's a Bills fan. We didn't want this. No. We didn't want it to go down this way. And number 2, I'll reiterate what I said before. I'm not saying Zach Wilson couldn't have been the guy, but he needed time to sit. The physical traits were never the question. He needed to learn how to understand the game, how to read a defense, how to make progressions, how to be a student the way that Aaron Rodgers has after 18 years. He doesn't get that chance. This offense wasn't built for him. Nathaniel Hackett, they would not have hired Nathaniel Hackett if Zach Wilson was going to be their starting quarterback. So it's going to be... And it even looked like the exact same team as last year. Defense playing, lights out just to keep them in their game. Pass rush insane. Defensive secondary is amazing. Yeah. Breece Hall picking up where Breece Hall left, to the point where he ran out of steam on one play, but he was electric. He was amazing. Garrett Wilson, that catch. Come on. Literally everything. Even the offensive line, did maybe better than I thought. but Zach Wilson is holding the back. So
yeah, it's interesting because I like what you say about Zach Wilson, and I'm aware of the traitsy quarterback graveyard, but I think to a certain extent you either do have the physical traits or you don't, right? And we know that Zach Wilson does have them. I think we're learning from quarterbacks like Josh Allen, quarterbacks like Justin Fields, that it is possible for the progressions to happen mentally. And
I wouldn't throw Justin Fields in that category yet. I don't know if you watched the Packers-Bears game.
Oh, I am aware, but we also have to acknowledge that he's better than he was.
As a runner,
he had some really, really bad moments in the NFL. And he's looking okay. Yes,
as a runner,
kind of a bad example.
He was amazing in fantasy. He was a great quarterback as a runner last year.
Put up a lot of stats.
They won 3 games
with
him at quarterback. He was one of the worst passers in the NFL.
Yeah.
Go this year, and honestly, he looked worse. So we don't have to go out on the Justin Fields tangent right now.
No, but
Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, they're better.
Sure, there are
examples.
players who take the leaps, and so I guess maybe I'm looking at it as like, if Aaron Rodgers does embrace the mentor role and is another voice in the room for Zach Wilson that is productive and healthy and sort of like another coach, like a quarterback coach almost, then I think we could be looking at an improved version of Zach Wilson. Now, what's the saying?
Improved is different than like being you said worthy of a number 2 overall pick. There's a difference between if he's improved even a little. They could flirt with a wild card spot.
More so just hearkening to his pedigree. When I was hearkening to his pedigree when I said that, not necessarily predicting that kind of a ceiling, but more so just reminding us that like he's no, undrafted free agent, which sometimes those are better, but traits wise and pedigree wise, which
how do you like Baker Mayfield these days?
Good question. If we're going to take week 1 victory laps, Brian.
He was not spectacular, but it was a little bit of vintage Baker. But at the same time,
he's 1-0.
But prior to this season, you were, it was Adrian and I who were kind of.
Oh, I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan at all.
First overall pick, if we're talking about pedigree.
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all. But
right.
I mean,
Carson Wentz. Do we remember him? Pedigree only gets you so far. NFL teams make mistakes all the time, especially quarterback.
And the Carson Wentz thing is funny because he's another failed number 2 overall pick that they might end up calling, right? Like the Carson Wentz conversation is a funny one to have. I mean, I don't know if I'd be so angry if Carson Wentz was the quarterback of the Jets.
I don't know how I feel about it. I'd rather have Nick Foles.
Yeah,
thanks, Anthony. Appreciate the laughs.
At age 40?
Sure. You do not need a Josh Allen for this team. You've got playmakers. You've got a sick defense. You need somebody who can give you a better game management than Zach Wilson can.
Yeah.
You do not need a quarterback to carry you. That Cooper Rush would be fine.
Yeah, then
I don't think
back up Dak.
Dallas has got Trey now. Yeah, I'm fine with that. If I'm Robert Saleh, if I'm Joe Douglas, I recognize that all I need is like QB 20 play with the rest of the way this team is set up. Give me QB 20 play. Rodgers can give you, even at this age, QB 10, QB 8, maybe QB 5 if he goes on a heater.
Definitely could have been tough.
All right. Zach Wilson, you're not cracking QB 28, in my opinion, with his mental development right now. And I saw it. I wanted to believe it. He looked exactly like Zach Wilson from last year.
No, he did.
Through a horrible pick.
There was almost no progress, and they took the ball out of his hands so hard.
Yeah.
And
I think his average depth of target was like 3 or 4 yards.
They had to take the ball out of his hands because he's an absolute liability when they didn't. Look at
Mike White last year. He is nobody's idea of a stud quarterback, but this offense functioned a lot better with him because he was probably QB 22.
Yeah. I like that. Armand brought up Taylor Heineke.
I would love that. Atlanta's not going to give up Heineke.
Heineke, Brissett, Bridgewater, these guys, those kind of names, Jameis.
Desmond Ridder threw for 140 yards. Atlanta's not getting rid of Heineke. He's their backup plan there.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder.
But I would like that. Colt McCoy, I don't hate.
A lot of names,
even though he's old.
And theoretically, Brian, these names could be better than Zach Wilson, right?
For 1 year. We're not talking long term. Wilson could still develop with the right. Rodgers comes back next year. He said his Instagram post today.
I want a Rodgers year. I want one. Rodgers
I do too.
In New York.
His Instagram post said I don't remember what it said, but it implied that this was not going to be his end.
Yeah.
I think it's too competitive to go out
I'm
like
inclined to
this.
agree with that. And the fact that it's, the Achilles is a death knell to running backs, to positions that rely on speed, not necessarily to quarterbacks. We've seen great quarterbacks, I want to say, come back from Achilles. Did Vinatieri already had some good years after the Achilles tear?
You don't need it for his type of play. I mean, he's a little mobile, but you don't need to spring it in your step. You don't need to be
mobile
explosive
for a couple seasons anyway.
Right. He moves in the pocket well enough. He can extend plays. That's all he needs. Yeah, right. The quarterback is one of the only positions where an Achilles injury doesn't have to ruin your career. Just the thing is, he'll be over 40. Like, does he want to? And I think he will. I think he's too competitive to go out like that.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's 17 minutes left. If you have any poignant points, I'll hear them. Otherwise, let's talk a little bit more. We gave 13 minutes to Favre. It's crazy. To Rodgers, same team, same situation. Freudian, yeah. So what I wanted to do, and if you have questions, I guess we have questions. Which bottom 5 teams surprised the most in week 1? I like this. So we don't have to go game by game, but we can kind of address some of the storylines. Kevin, I'll let you start with that. What you would consider a bottom 5 team surprising you the most?
Yeah, I would say that our Chicago Bears bottom 5 surprised me because they
put it the wrong
I didn't think they were going to be a bottom 5 team.
Yeah.
What the hell was that effort against Green Bay? I mean, is Green Bay better than we think? Is Chicago the same fraudulent team that they were last year? Or is Justin Fields' ascendance fraudulent?
The Bears looked awful. Have you seen any of the tape or highlights of the breakdowns of that offense? I'm not even saying it's all Fields'
not all 22
fault.
If that's what you're talking about. I haven't seen any all 22s.
So it's not even like Fields is being set up to fail. There was some play calls. There was one in particular. It was egregious. It was a red zone play where it looked like the other, like all 11 guys had no idea what the play call is. You have 4 offensive linemen who pass blocked. You have a tight end who kind of did some weird shimmy run block 4 yards down the field. You have 2 wide receivers both running corner outs in the same direction. You have another wide receiver who looks like he's trying to block. And then you have one running back, I think it was Khalil Herbert, running, like actually looking like he knew what play he was doing, and it ended up a sack. It was just like, what the heck? It was a mess, and there were more plays like that. So
yeah. No,
I just got a question from we can skip halftime. Let's just roll on through. Got a special announcement at the end, so if you're watching, stick around. We do have a very special announcement with regards to
Brian. What about you?
Our podcast.
What bottom 5 team surprised you?
So this is another team that lost, but it did surprise me in a good way. I'm surprised at the fight of the Arizona Cardinals.
Really? Yeah. Legit.
Yeah. I mean, not a lot going on offense, but that defense, Jonathan Gannon, defensive coach, I question. I another one of those that I didn't really like his press conferences. I wasn't really inspired by him, but Sirianni was like that, and he turned out to be great. So I got to stop judging people off their press conferences, off the vibes, because he's a defensive coach, and I know Philly fans don't like him, but he's had some success there. Whatever you think, that team came to play.
Yeah.
And they're devoid in talent, and don't worry, Cardinals fans, you're going to get Caleb Williams, or at least have an opportunity at number 1, because there's just not enough talent on this. But I like the fight, especially on defense. Multiple sacks and turnover. I think they forced at least 3 turnovers of Sam Howell in that Washington offense, which I was pretty high on going into. Mm-hmm. Still lost. Washington still found a way to win, but I got to say they surprised me with their fight, and what that tells me is one game. But generally, that's good coaching. Think about Dable and the Giants last year. Think about Brian Flores with the Dolphins when he first started there, and the team was completely devoid of talent. Think of all the Mike Tomlin years. You get a team that just doesn't have the talent, but they're playing above it. That's coaching. So arrow slightly up for Jonathan Gannon after 1 week.
I would agree with that, and I think it's a good pick because, look, I've said this a million times on the show. If you're in a rebuild and you're not trying to win games, your job should be let's see if there's any guys that we can fill holes with for cheap. Let's see if there's any of these UDFAs, any of these 5th round picks that have the moxie or have the mental makeup to be on this team long term. That should be your only goal, is to try to find out as many holes that you don't have to fill moving forward, because
Michael Wilson, wide receiver 2 already for Arizona, by the way.
Yeah, and the Kyler thing is probably going to be a big storyline to watch, because You seem to have already let that ship sail in your mind that
Oh,
Arizona's going to be.
If I had to make a bet, I would bet Kyler doesn't play it down this year.
That is, yeah, and I've been kind of in a similar position mentally as you, but
it's not even that. Kevin, do you know that there is a clause in his contract that if he comes back and gets injured, his contract automatically fully guarantees?
Oh, wow. Yeah,
do you think Arizona is going to want to risk that when they're probably going to move on from him anyway? Risk having to have a quarterback either as a super expensive backup or a guy that they can't trade because they had to pay all that money?
I guess that's my question though, Brian, is are you 100% confident they're going to move on from him after the big contract? How do you do that?
100% no, but
what's your
like
temperature
85%?
85%. That's really sure.
This is so you have yet another one of nobody called Kyler a generational quarterback. You got Andrew Luck, you got Trevor Lawrence could fall in that category. Before that, Peyton Manning. These guys do not come forward often. Caleb Williams is the real deal. I don't know if you guys have seen any of his college highlights. He looks like an NFL star quarterback playing with a bunch of college kids. Yeah. That's when you know you have something special. So, look, I know the ownership's the same, but you got a brand new GM and Monty Austinfort. You have a whole new coaching staff. These guys did not pay Kyler. This coaching staff did not pick Kyler like Kingsbury did. So it's just ownership, and I think ownership wants to win. Kyler has not been able to win. He had, one good season where he's an MVP for half the year, and then they bottomed out the rest of the year. They have not been good, so why not draft a guy like Caleb Williams? You got 2 firsts. You can take Caleb and use another first on another player. I'm 90%. I just talked myself into 90%.
I don't disagree with you, actually, and I think if I was a betting man, gun to my head, I would probably make the same call as you. But I think there are a lot of there's a lot of Kyler love, and he is sort of a sure thing. He is sort of a proven commodity in the NFL. So it is kind of tough to.
He's never won a playoff game. I don't know that I would call him a proven commodity.
Justin Herbert's never won a playoff game, Brian. Come on. Let's not use that as the bar.
Okay, technically Herbert is not necessarily Herbert also didn't have all of the drama. You cannot say Herbert is anti-drama.
He's good.
So you got a guy who has not proven commodity. He has shown the ability to be a top 5 or 6 quarterback, but on top of that, he's got all the drama. He likes to play Call of Duty instead of study game film. There's a lot of red flags associated with Kyler.
There's bad vibes, and 100%. I'm very much a believer in the human side of football, so much more than anything else. And it doesn't seem like Kyler cares that much. He kind of seems like he wants to get his bag and go home.
That's what I mean. Which is why would Kyler rush out? He's not competitive. Right. By the time he's ready, these Cardinals are going to be 0-5, 0-6. Why rush when he could potentially re-injure himself? He's thinking about his next contract, his next team. So I think both sides aren't going to want to play. All right, just under 10 minutes left. I want to finish up with just like lightning round game picks. I have not made my game picks yet, Kevin, so we're going to make them together.
Let's go. Yeah.
But until then, any other questions, Anthony, that you want to pop up? Or Kevin, if you have a topic that you want to address from week 1. If not, I can go through some of these games and kind of.
I have just one quick exercise for you that I'll do really quickly. Give me, for my own personal mental health, give me a 1 to 10 panic level on the Bills and Josh Allen.
10 being the most panic, like you need a new quarterback. 1 being Zen Buddhism. I don't know. 3.5.
3.5, just because of the frequency of it.
That is going to end up being a top 3 defense. There's already a top 3 defense. We have to keep that in mind. They were playing especially inspired after what happened to their quarterback. Yeah. Allen made horrible decisions, but that's always kind of been his game. That's not new.
He does it every year.
You and every Bills fan needs to just that's just the Josh Allen experience. He led the NFL from PFF in big time throws, and he led the NFL in turnover worthy plays. It has been good enough to win the division. It has been good enough to win playoff games. It's been good enough to be on the doorstep of the AFC Championship game.
And in the AFC Championship game, yeah.
Yeah, he can get you there. Yeah. Just get used to the roller coaster ride.
Yeah, shit, man.
Speaking of, all right, this is a good segue. What top teams underwhelmed in week 1, Kevin?
Bengals. Hello.
Yeah.
What's up with that? I know weather. I know Burrow's health.
Couple things.
Chiefs.
Just real quick, specifically on the Bengals, they got beat by the Steelers. Burrow threw 4 interceptions in week 1 last year. So Burrow in week 1 is a thing. They got trounced by the Browns last year when the Browns weren't that good. Something about the Browns, the calf, the weather. I'm not worried about the Bengals. We don't have to. They underwhelmed, yes, but throw week 1 completely out the window.
Flush the game tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chiefs, you mentioned.
Yeah, Chiefs, I would say definitely.
Chiefs
the receivers
yeah.
are such a liability.
Still looked like Mahomes.
Literally was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say those are the 3. And obviously the Bills. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But it's really just Josh Allen.
Yeah, going through it. Eagles, but I actually think that could end up being a Patriots defense thing. The Eagles won, but
and they took the foot off the gas. They boat raced in the beginning, and then they took the foot off the gas.
But the boat race wasn't an offensive thing. One of those touchdowns was a defensive touchdown.
Yeah,
their offense outside of that first touchdown, they had just a ton of 3 and outs.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts didn't look all that.
We
could throw the Ravens in there too. Another team that won that didn't look good.
Should have stomped Houston.
Yeah, the offense did not look in sync. I know it's a new offense under Todd Monken.
Yeah.
Scrolling through here. I mean, the Giants aren't a top team, but they were a playoff team. I don't want to say I told you that this Giants.
No, that was awful.
Even I didn't see that coming.
That was debaucherous.
Armand mentioned a couple things in the chat. The Giants could be without Andrew Thomas. They play the Cardinals this week, which is good for the Giants as a bounce back. Darren Waller already injured. That didn't take long. Yeah, nothing new.
I have no shares of him in fantasy. I feel very proud for that.
Yeah, me too. I almost drafted him and redrafted. People kept taking him. I'm kind of glad that I didn't jump onto that boat.
Just scary. Scary injury history.
Yeah, going through. You know what? Steelers. They're not a top
Big
team,
time.
but considering there was so much hype, but they scored on every touchdown in the preseason, and they get. First of all, I think that's a reflection of we forgot just how good the Niners freaking are.
Right.
And Brock. The biggest question was, does Purdy take time to? Nope. He goes right back to where he is. That defense is insane. Nick Bosa was there.
Yep.
Javon Hargrave looked good. Drake Jackson, their second-year edge rusher. This Niners team is just... I picked them in the Super Bowl. I'm feeling very good about that after 1 week.
Yeah, and I'll throw in the Seahawks as well. Very underwhelming effort against the Rams, who were one of the biggest dumpster fires in the league last year.
43 rookies after the draft and on their roster. No, that's a real number.
I thought you meant like on their 53. I was like,
no, but and they're 90 man after the draft. They had 43 rookies on their team. That was nearly half their roster, and they went out without Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
Puka Nacua showing out.
The NFL MVP Puka Nacua through 1 week.
Yeah. The most fob spent on a fifth-round rookie after 1 week in history. And I'm guilty. I spent a lot of fob in various leagues. All right, so here's what I want to do, Kevin. We got 5 minutes left.
Let's do this.
I haven't made my week 2 picks yet. And
make them live.
If you guys happen to follow Legit Football on Twitter, @_Legit Football, I always put the picks up there. I might tweak these after I do some analysis in the morning, but we're going to, at least for the show, we're going to do some picks live.
I love the nature of this.
Yeah, this is a 30 minutes topic.
This is beautiful.
What do I feel like talking about? I feel like looking at the games ahead. I haven't done any research. I'm a big analytics guy. I'll dive into those before making my picks final. Yeah. But let's go ahead and start here. Thursday night, tomorrow, we got the Minnesota Vikings at Philadelphia Eagles. Vikings lost a 1-score game, right? After winning 11. Lost 1-score game to the Bucs at home. It was in Minnesota. Now they get to travel to the Eagles. I will say, the Eagles are beat up in the secondary. James Bradbury is already been ruled out. Reed Blankenship, their new safety, has already been ruled out. Kenny Gainwell on the offense has already been ruled out. They are missing some pieces. They've still got a good offense. The Vikings defense definitely left something to be desired against the Bucs. But I do think this could be a game where both teams score a lot of points. Oh, yeah, it'll be a shootout, but it'll be like a 41-24 kind of shootout. Yeah. I think Philly dog walks. Agreed. Let's go. Philly at home. All right, the Chicago Bears traveling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks all of a sudden. We talked a little about Baker. I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of analysis on these. Let's just Bucks. Yeah, Bucks at home. I think I'm gonna take the Bears. I still believe that they'll be a good team. Okay. I do. I got some faith. The play calling was, look it up. There's atrocious. Go to the I think it's at QB School or at the QB School. He's got some really, really detailed tape breakdowns, and he is cursing. He's like, what the F are these Bears? I don't know what they're doing. It's hilarious. All right, Green Bay Packers 1-0 against Atlanta Falcons 1-0. Our boy Adrian Revito's team going against... This is the matchup. My second team. Falcons at home. Both teams looked really solid.
I'm gonna take the Packers.
I'm going to have to go Green Bay as well.
Oh, wow.
I love my Falcons. I still think they'll win that division, but I thought the biggest question, look,
sharp.
Packers have a great offensive line. They have a really good, like, possible top 5 defense. They've got playmakers even without Christian Watson. Luke Musgrave nearly had a touchdown before he fell down. But Jordan Love was the biggest question mark, and if you're just talking about fantasy, he had the 3rd most fantasy points of all quarterbacks, QB3. Yeah. So, but he looked good doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick Green Bay there. Indianapolis Colts 0-1 against Houston Texans 0-1 AFC South showdown.
Oh, this is all Texans all day.
This is a fun one. You want to pick Houston here?
I got to go Houston for me.
I kind of liked Anthony Richardson. I thought he actually looked the best of all the rookie quarterbacks.
He did.
Mr. Rusty. Yeah. Mr. Not Enough Experience and
Mr. Project,
Mr.
Right?
Green, Mr. Project. So I'm going to go, you go Houston, I'll go Colts there. Yeah. You're welcome, Jimmy. 2 minutes left. Seattle Seahawks 0-1 against Detroit Lions.
Oh, darn. I got to go Lions.
Yeah, Seahawks stole this one last year. I think Detroit's going to remember that. They just beat the freaking Chiefs. Now they get the Seahawks, who looked pretty paltry in week 1. Yeah,
pretty bad.
You're welcome, Anthony. We're going Lions easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
At home. At Ford Field. Are you kidding? That place is going to be rocking. LA Chargers 0-1 at Tennessee Titans 0-1.
Oh, that's Chargers dog walking.
Yeah.
Titans suck.
Good bounce back game. Ryan Tannehill, 3 interceptions, looked
bad.
Awful.
Bad
Tajay Spears quietly outsnapped Derrick Henry. Just throwing that out there. Didn't
with one ACL.
Yeah. Dude doesn't have a second ACL.
That stat freaks me out.
Baltimore Ravens, by the way, if we go to past time, Anthony, obviously it goes without saying, goes in overtime. We got to do this here.
Oh,
Armand's throwing his picks in the chat as well. Baltimore Ravens 1-0 against Cincinnati Bengals 0-1.
Ooh, Brian. I think the Ravens are winning this game. I think the Ravens are winning.
Bengals, I would bet on this.
Let's do it.
Bengals have been for some reason the Browns have the Bengals number, but the Bengals have had the Ravens number. You throw on top of that Marcus Williams looks like he's gone for an extended period of time. They've got Tyler Linderbaum, their center, is beat up. Ronnie Stanley was injured, although I think he'll play. J.K. Dobbins gone. There's this offense didn't look good. They got lucky they were playing the Texans.
He's all right. Justice Hill is all right.
He is not. He's not J.K. Dobbins, and it doesn't matter. I think these Bengals at home are going to win this game. Healthy enough. I don't think that was a calf issue. Okay. I think it was a rust issue. He did the same thing last year, and he was perfectly healthy.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I'm going to pick the Bengals at home. You're going to go with the Ravens.
Yep.
Your Buffalo Bills get a nice matchup at home. Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I do think. Yeah, I'll take my Bills. Obviously, that's kind of a
same.
no-brainer.
Good. I know that the Raiders a shock of the week. I can't believe the Raiders beat the Broncos.
I picked them
out there,
and you didn't believe in them. I told you on the show.
Anthony, give me 5 more minutes for overtime. We will nail the rest of these week 2 picks live here on 30 Minutes of Football, and then we'll finish up with our announcement. That can be after the 5-minute time.
Oh, can't wait.
All right, so we're both going Bills. This is a good matchup. I actually think because I do not believe in that Raiders defense. I just think they got lucky facing Russ and that underwhelming offense in Denver. I think the Bills are going to stomp the Raiders.
I hope so, man. We need it.
Oh, rematch of the playoff game from last year. Jacksonville Jaguars at home bringing the Kansas City Chiefs. Kelsey is practicing. Chris Jones is back.
This is a get-right game. Get-right game for the Chiefs, 100%.
One of the games of the week, though. I would love to see this. I think it's going to be close.
Definitely.
Jacksonville, they struggled a little bit with Indianapolis, but one of those touchdowns was a weird fluky defensive touchdown. Calvin Ridley is the real deal. He's back. But I'm not going. Mahomes is not going to lose 2 games in a row. Of course, I said that after week 1 that he wouldn't lose, and look at that. Real trouble in KC if they lose this game, even though it's a good Jacksonville team. So the Chiefs there. San Francisco 49ers, one of the most impressive wins in week 1, go on the road to take on the Rams, one of the most surprising wins in LA. Shanahan versus McVay.
It gets harder when you see that the Rams might have a little bit of fight like they did a couple years back, but I think the 49ers are just too damn good. They're too much
good.
Firepower.
Shanahan has owned McVay. I think McVay's only beat him once, maybe twice in their 4 years going up against each other. And here it is. The team is LA had an inspired win against the Seattle team, but now they get the juggernaut, the team I'm picking to go to the Super Bowl. Niners.
It's gonna humble them.
There's too many rookies on. They're just gonna be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So Niners win on the road. New York Giants, we mentioned earlier. Armand was mentioning in the chat, go on the road. They get the Arizona Cardinals. They played inspired, but this is a good get-right game.
Yeah.
Let's both go Giants here. No analysis needed. New York Jets.
Oof.
Dallas Cowboys. Imagine if this was Rodgers. This would have been such a good matchup. Rodgers versus Dak.
Yeah.
Both teams undefeated.
That's easy.
It's in Dallas.
Unfortunately. Sorry, Armand.
I can't. That Dallas defense. Wow.
Just stomping.
Just amazing. They were the most impressive defense, and there
Oh
was
my God,
a lot
they're
of
good.
impressive defenses this weekend.
Yeah.
Washington Commanders 1-0 going to take on the road the Denver Broncos 0-1 against the Raiders. Sean Payton's debut spoiled.
Yeah, Commanders Broncos is kind of like a little bit of like an underperformance off between those two teams. I will take the Commanders.
I'm with you. I'll take Washington. But I don't feel good about it.
Which means the Sean Payton-led Broncos are going to start the year theoretically 0-2.
Which is hard to swallow. When I dive into this further, I have a feeling I might switch it. But for now, for the sake of the show,
I'm gut-checking Commanders,
I'll stick with Washington. My Miami Dolphins blowing the doors off the most impressive offense in the entire NFL.
Beautiful.
Tua throwing for 466 yards.
Unreal.
He was flawless aside from one interception.
Dialed in.
He was throwing freaking dimes.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you. And you know me, I picked the Dolphins to miss the Super Bowl. I'm not some homer to be a homer.
Yeah, you did.
This team looked phenomenal. The defense needs some stuff cleaned up, but I think that Chargers offense is going to be really good. I know that Patriots defense played well. I'm just going to go ahead and make my pick. I got to go with Miami. I know it's on the road and they're going to disappoint me, but I got to go.
No, this is a Dolphins win right here. And I want to pick the Patriots because they played so damn well. They hung in against Philly in a way that nobody thought they could. You take away that 16-0 start for Philly. New England outplayed Philadelphia for three
of the 4 quarters. I completely agree. Yeah.
But I mean, that is what it is. So I got to go with Miami just because I just think Tua I think he's going to have a lights out season. I think he's going to contend for MVP.
Yeah, I think this Vic Fangio defense will play better as the season goes on. I am not a believer in the Patriots offense. Yeah, I'm sticking with Miami.
Neither.
2 games basically at the same time on Monday night, which is weird. They're used to be weird. Like, one's at 7, one's at... No, these are at the same time. One's on ABC, one's weird. On ESPN. First, New Orleans Saints at Carolina Panthers. Saints 1-0, Panthers 0-1. It's in Carolina, NFC South showdown.
Taking my Saints. I love them.
Saints.
I believe in Derek Carr a lot.
Hard-fought win. I love the... I don't know if you saw the highlight of he was telling Rashid Shaheed, if you get it, just run, I'll throw it.
That was beautiful.
And then he called it on 3rd down to seal the game. Love that. Saints on the road. And finally, Cleveland Browns 1-0. Despite Watson, actually Deshaun Watson did not look very good, but their defense, yet another amazing defensive performance on the road against the Steelers, trying to bounce back after that horrific.
I'm picking a bounce back for the Steelers here. And it's hard to do because Cleveland's defense did look so good. And honestly, Pittsburgh's offense looked pretty inept. I know the 49ers have a great defense, but I think the Steelers are going to bounce back in this one.
I am with you there. I am also picking Pittsburgh at home. They're another... We talk about that NFC North. Teams have each other's numbers. The Steelers seem to have the Browns' numbers.
Yep.
All right, 30 minutes is up. I'm going to make a couple kind of tied in special announcements here. So for the time being, this is going to be the last 30 minutes of football episode. However, that doesn't mean you get to see The Last of Us. We at Legit Football will be introducing not 1, but 2 fantasy football focused podcasts. I know Kevin's excited. Fantasy is his realm. So starting next week, Tuesday, I think we're going to do it around 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, so a little bit earlier. We're going to do waiver wire. It's just going to be Kevin and I going back and forth with our top waiver wire picks. It's going to be short and sweet, maybe 20, maybe 30 minutes. Not really going to take questions. We're just going to give you our top waiver wire picks of the week on a Tuesday to prepare you for your fantasy leagues, to make those claims for Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. And then Kevin, on Wednesdays, we're just going to do a fantasy AMA, a fantasy Q&A, if you will, where you guys can come on here live and just ask us start-sit questions, ask us trade questions. We did this on Thursdays last year. If any of you are still around podcast or YouTube, where me and the Pro Football Demon every Thursday night before the TNF game, and it was always our most popular episode. So we decided to make a whole podcast out of it. Kevin and I, just on here, maybe we'll have some guests. We're just going to be taking your fantasy questions, whatever they may be. It's going to be the same time slot. So Armand, anybody else of our regulars, if you come to 30 Minutes of Football at 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern on Wednesday, same time, we're just going to be talking about some fantasy football stuff, and you can ask us your questions. Kevin, Any last thoughts on our big announcement here?
I feel like a kid on Christmas morning getting to talk about fantasy football with you guys more. That's the dream, honestly. And yeah, McFadden, I hope you don't get too upset when I take the title in the Legit Football Dynasty League. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry. It's gonna be.
Hey, I tried to
awkward for
tank
us.
on my team, and I got the third highest points.
He did try to tank.
Who knows? Football, fantasy
Football's
football
weird.
is a strange mistress indeed.
Big time.
Thank you so much for everybody. We will probably bring 30 minutes of football, the format, back at some point. We're just trying to figure out how best to do that. In the meantime, it's NFL season. We know you guys want fantasy content, so we're going to bring you 2 separate fantasy football shows, Tuesday and Wednesday. Thank you to everybody for listening and watching. If you happen to be here for the first time, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe, whether it's here on YouTube or listening on your podcast platform. On behalf of our producer, Anthony Wayner, my partner in crime, Kevin Phillip Fox, week 1 in the books, week 2 coming up. I'm Brian McFadden. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. We'll see you next week for fantasy. Why do you hate Tyreek Hill?
Wow, I see. Another spoiler, Justin Herbert is on my hot seat.
Yeah, as bad as the Bucs were, they still had Tom Brady.